What's going on, guys? Cassie from Jeep Gear and Gadgets, and welcome back to another video. The front axle swap is moving along really good. It's going really fast, and this is the video where we're actually going to wrap it up and hopefully take it for a test drive. But first, I want to say thanks to all of you for watching, for subscribing, and for all of your feedback and comments. I really appreciate it, and it gives me motivation to get out here more often and to keep finishing up this swap. Now, back to it. In my last video, I talked about how the springs have been bowing out. Bowing in, bowing out, however you want to say it. And it's because the JK axle is wider than the LJ axle. So to fix this, we've decided to actually adjust the coil bucket on the frame side. We've done some custom work here, done some welding, and we're going to show you how we did this on the other side of the Jeep, and I'm really excited about it. So we're going to do the springs today, we're going to finish mounting up the shocks and put the brakes on, and then after that, take it for a test drive. So let's get started. We have a piece of 1/4-inch steel here that we're basically going to make our own coil bucket from, except we're going to make it wider so we can weld it onto the frame. We're also going to cut out a hole right here for our bump stop. Now, we're not going with the stock ones. We actually have hydraulic bump stops, and since we're doing all this, might as well add those in. And then that way we can weld the sleeve onto the coil bucket and then keep it moving. So now we're going to grab the grinder and cut out our coil bucket. Coil bucket. I used a hole saw to cut out a spot for our new hydraulic bump stop. It's going to go right in here, and then I'm going to weld the sleeve to the coil bucket. Then we grind it out, the outside of it, smoothed it out, and now the coil bucket is pretty much ready to go. But before I can put the new coil bucket on, I have to grind off the old coil bucket that we still have in here. So we pretty much just have to take the whole thing off, which means I have to keep grinding. Now, I never thought I would be posting videos on YouTube of me grinding, but here we are, so let's get started.
Pretend it's me.
My glasses for that. Ah! All right, I'm subbed out. To be honest, I didn't like those shocks anyway.
Jeez, what did I do to you?
That's not as fun to watch.
Maybe we can get a sawzall up in there.
We could.
Yeah, we grab the sawzall.
Now that that's off, I can go ahead and grind a little channel for the new bump stops to go into, and then kind of start mocking up the coil bucket and see how we can get this thing done. All the cuts are made, and at this point there is no going back. So I've got the new coil bucket and the bump stop right here. We're gonna slide it in and kind of figure out where exactly we want to mount this up. And to do that, we need to put the new spring in and then kind of mark it or tack weld it and then weld the new coil bucket in. We have found the sweet spot for the coil bucket. The spring is nice and straight, which means it's time for us to tack weld the bump stop sleeve to the coil bucket. And when we're doing this, we need to be mindful of the angle of the bump stop because we don't want it going all over the place. We need to make sure it's nice and centered. So now we're going to take it out and then weld it up on the ground. Tack weld it first.
Still good?
Still good. That took about an hour to do, but the coil bucket is now completely welded on. I'm gonna, ooh, still a little hot. I'm gonna throw a coat of the Steel It Black on there and then move on to the next project so we can keep this going. The springs are in, and that is finally done. That was kind of the last crazy project we had to do that involved grinding or welding, and I don't know what... Oh, it's beer 30.
Beer 30.
Beer 30. But yeah, so we can drink now that we're done grinding and welding and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that was like an hour.
There are 2 more things we have to do before we can test drive this thing.
Hemi swap and 42s.
So that might take a while then. We might not test drive it today.
A couple more months, a couple more $1,000.
So basically we have to tighten everything down, which is boring, and we need to replace the brakes. And as you can see on here, the rotors and the brake pads are going bad.
They're gone.
The brake pads are bad because they're gone. We don't even know where they are.
In trash.
So basically, we're going to upgrade the brakes. And we could either have gone with factory brakes or we could upgrade to something else. And we went with the Powerstop brakes. Whoop whoop. Let's get it all out of the box on the ground and show you guys what we got. We went with the Z36 brake kit. It comes with their special formula pads and their drilled and slotted rotors. Now, installing these is just like doing any other brake job, except for it's a nice upgrade from the factory brakes. So why don't we get them in? Let's start power stopping. Front passenger. Now, some people say they don't like the drilled and slotted rotors for off-roading because rocks and mud and everything can get in the holes and they can start making noise. But I haven't had that experience. Ben and I have been all over. We've been to Uwharrie, Windrock, out west for Powerstop Trail to SEMA, and we never had that issue. So I think they're a good upgrade. And plus, the holes in the slots, it helps with the heat buildup down there. So I think it's a great brake upgrade.
It is.
In my
I mean, like when you're
off-roading or not.
Yeah, like when you're on the trails and you're going like down a big hill and you're in 4 low and like you're on the brakes the whole time. Like,
yeah, I'll take some Powerstop brakes.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of that heat. Ain't nothing getting in there.
Nothing's getting.
And if it does, not the end of the world.
I'll take squeaky brakes as long as I know it's gonna stop. All right, we are on day number 2 of finishing up this front axle, and last night we finished putting the new rotors and the new brake pads on the passenger side, and we were going to start working on this side this morning, and it just completely went bad. The caliper was all seized up. Ben got in here and was trying to play with it, and he just got brake juice everywhere, which means I've got to go down to Advance and get a new brake caliper. And kind of thinking in hindsight, we should have went ahead and got the new calipers with this brake kit. But you know, it is what it is, so got to go to Advance and get another one. Advance, you want to come? Let's see your hands. You just washed them.
Cleaned up, so.
All right, so I'm gonna head out. Let's go. So that was a little setback to the morning. We weren't expecting it, but let's get this new caliper on so we can finish putting the brakes on. And after that, we're just torquing everything down and we get to test drive it. So let's get to it. About to get messy. Get that thing out of here. You holding?
Yep.
We just finished putting the Powerstop brakes in, and they look great. We've bred them.
We bred them.
We have bled the brakes, which, by the way, is my least favorite mechanic job ever. I've had to bleed brakes so many times growing up, and with this guy. So we got the brakes bled. It looks good. 2 other things I want to mention are we are going to end up welding some tabs right here so that we can connect our sway bar, but we're going to do that later because it is still drivable without it. And the shocks, we are going to keep these Bilsteins on here. They came off of Ben's JK. It might ride a little rough, but it's going to work for now until we can upgrade it later. Main thing is getting this axle swap done. And other than that, it's time to torque everything down and take it for a test drive. Guys, we are officially done with the front axle swap, and it looks sick. But first we have to go test drive it, kind of make sure everything works. And with the Powerstop brake pads, whoopsies. With the Powerstop brake pads, we actually have to test it out, or break them in, I meant. So we have to do a couple of aggressive stops, 40 to 10, and then a couple of moderate stops, 35 to 5, and then kind of drive around for a little bit, let the brakes cool off. This is like a special Powerstop brake pad thing, so make sure you break them in if you do go with these. So once we do that, we'll stop somewhere and kind of walk you around and show you what the new axle looks like. Ben, what do you think?
It looks really good. It's a lot wider, but you can't really show them here, so.
Shh. All right, let's go.
All right. Jeez, that was actually pretty good.
All right, a few more stops. Let's see. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, power stop. Power stop.
Nice.
All right, so we got the brakes broken in. We've tested it out on the road, so let's go take a look at it. Thank you. Let's take a look at this front axle.
Well, did you just look at it? Would you look at that? That's an axle. It's a JK axle. Would you look at it?
Looks great. So pretty. So the road test went really good. It still needs an alignment, but it drives so much better than the factory axle that was on there before. The steering is much tighter. I'm very happy with it.
Driving in the passenger seat, it seems.
Did it feel even better?
Yeah, the Jeep's not like before with the steering setup. Like you hit a bump, it had really bad bump steer.
It was terrible,
yeah,
very
this
terrible.
Definitely seems a lot better.
Let's see. We've got the springs lined up now. The springs are straight for the most part on both sides. Oh, what else is there, Ben? We've done so much.
I'll record you. Here we go.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Show them what we're talking about.
Okay, yes, the springs, they look straight. The shocks. So these are for a four-door Jeep, and I thought they were going to be way too stiff, but they weren't actually that bad. So I think
no, they felt nice.
I think I'm going to keep them on here.
Yeah.
Because if so, that'd save us some money. So
it is. I mean, like I I've never I didn't know people would. I've never known anybody that ran four-door shocks on a
two-door JK or JK LJ.
Yeah, TJ LJ.
So I'm kind of excited to keep those on there and just see how they perform. I'm not going to recommend using four-door shocks, but I will let you guys know how they perform on the road once we're done with the front and the rear axle.
Yeah.
Oh, what else have we done?
We have not off-roaded it yet.
We have not. Well, we can't even go into four-wheel drive right now because we haven't swapped the rear axle in, so the gears don't match. So
True.
I can't even test out the four-wheel drive yet. Let's see, the brakes, they brake so much better than what was on here before. So going to a JK brake, it's already bigger, and we went with the Powerstop brake. So it's night and day difference from what was on there before to now. Now I don't have to worry about like braking too late as much as I did
She's
beforehand.
horrible at braking too.
I am, it's not, I've been in 2 accidents and I was a fender bender both times.
It looks better too.
It does, and you can see it also looks wider. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but if you look kind of like right here, if you look right down.
I think so. Your tires are kind of turned this way.
I mean, a little bit. It's about 2.5 inches extra on each side, and the wider stance, it's just sexy. It just looks good. And then that pretty much wraps it up for the front axle. Did I miss anything?
I don't know. I mean, I think we've talked about everything 12 times.
12 times. Well, in case you needed to hear it again, there was a nice recap. Thank you for the camera. Now that the front is done, we're gonna start moving on to the rear axle. And for the rear, it's not gonna be as project intensive because we got the swap truss kit. It shouldn't take us more than a day, 2 days, thinking 2 days?
Probably 2 days.
2 days, I think we'll get it done. And once the axle swap is completely done, I can finally go test it out because I haven't taken this thing off-roading yet and it's killing me. I can't wait, I'm so excited. Now once the axle swap is done, I still have plenty other projects to do. You might notice that the bumper is missing from up here, which means
nobody's commented on that yet. That thing has been missing for like 5 videos.
Nope.
Maybe not, maybe like 3. You don't make any videos.
No bumpers, no winch. Let's see. We put these new pod lights on, but we haven't even wired them up yet, and I'm gonna have to get a switch pod for those. There's still plenty to be done. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and the axle swap in the front, pretty much done. So that's it for this video. Go down and comment below, give me any feedback, advice. If you've done this before, done something similar, I would love to hear about it. I also have another question for you guys. I'm using Ben's old coveralls right now when we're working on the Jeep, and they aren't the comfiest in the world. So if you have any recommendations out there for any that kind of like fit a female a little better, please let me know. And as always, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and my name's Cassie, and keep Jeeping classy. See you guys next time.